the weekly way. Oh, I can't spend the nose. The weekly way. Oh, can't tell it all.
Put it in
an off-ramp. Did you see it?
So wait to find out about that.
The weekly way. I'm glad it's not fast. Take it to baby.
At least I don't have to move all this shit. The studio can stay here.
Take them up again.
I'm sure you can around here. Is there anything you don't want to discuss? These subjects that make you touchy. Let's start with
Can you tell me who?
They were coming with a lot of weird.
Yeah.
I just changed up this whole setup because I'm trying to sell one of my Focusrite interfaces. Because I'm using it for 2 channels to be at the top. Oh, there it goes. Dylan Etienne, what's going on, brother?
What's up? Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, brother. I've told you this before, but normally it's when I'm drunk, so no, it's more sincere this time. I love your shit. You sound amazing.
Appreciate it, man.
You're just a cold motherfucker, and I don't think enough people see that coming before you start playing guitar, but it becomes very apparent once you start doing your thing.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely, man. This last Muse you played with us, I was really enjoying watching you bounce back between your material and the stuff you do with Alera.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that was like most odd to me to watch about your playing is the way you use a toggle switch to change the mood of everything you're doing. So
Yeah, man.
my first question is, like, as a guitar player, do you sit there and just figure out like the tonal landscape and kind of catalog where you can go with that? Or do you just play with it all the time and say, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there, then I'm going to pick something, and then I'll make that the arrangement?
Well,
Don't play with that toggle switch. It doesn't work on that.
I think, like a neck pickup is going to be sweet, nice.
Yeah.
You can say something pretty with that.
Mm-hmm.
Middle pickup, it's a little more snappy.
Mm-hmm.
You can, I like to live, I would say, in the middle position, just because it's like best of both worlds in terms of neck sweetness and bridge ferocity, I guess.
Yeah. But you're not a Gibson guy. You don't do the blend thing at all. So when you are living in middle pickup world, do you change your pickup heights a lot to get the right middle ground that you're looking for?
Well, I have 2 guitars that are my main, and
Your freak shows double swap, this Jazz Master with the Tele neck and a Tele neck on the Jazz Master.
yeah,
Well, and a Telecaster with the Jazz Master neck.
it's very fun to do that.
Why? Why'd you do that? Why'd you disrupt every guitar player's mind with such an avant-garde choice?
Because I could, pretty much.
Did it fit perfectly? I've always been told with like Fenders, like you need to get.
No, it didn't fit.
Okay.
I had to sculpt out a little bit out of the neck pocket on the Jazz Master because the Tele neck, it's like the end of it is a square.
Yeah.
Like you can see on this, it's like rounded.
Mm-hmm.
So the rounded neck fit on the Tele, but the Tele neck did not fit in a square pocket. Or on the rounded pocket.
You had a
on
square peg in a round hole,
Exactly.
literally. Yeah. So do you have any wiggle room with the Jazz Master neck because it doesn't fit flush in there? Or it just bolted in well enough that...
Well, on the Jazz Master, that one's fine. It all fits good. The Tele neck, like, if I do the normal,
Yeah.
like just vibrato like that, you can hear it.
You can hear like the extra movement in this thing.
It's got some creaks and stuff in there.
Does that ever worry you about like the travelability of this guitar, like the neck? Okay. No concerns. Are these
No,
just?
it's like that's the piece of equipment I have.
Yeah.
So
You don't seem very precious about your instruments, or you're not one to name an instrument or do whatever you need to get what you want out of it.
I got what I can afford, and that's all I got. So I'm gonna make it fun.
It sounds like the right method for you.
Yeah.
What was your first guitar?
It was an acoustic by Alvarez.
Nice.
It was my mama's. She I was about 9, I think.
Cool.
I just took it and had no idea what I was doing, but I tuned it so that the bottom 4 strings was da 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 of Wanted Dead or Alive. And she was like, "Bro, you've had that for like 3 minutes. How can you play something already?"
That's wild.
Yeah.
And what, like, so I'm sure that song was a favorite of yours, but like, what made you realize that was the most achievable thing right then and there? Like,
Pretty much, it was just what I was thinking of at the time.
have you always had like an insane recognition of pitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, you seem pretty
have-
lunatic type about that.
It's not perfect pitch, but it's really good relative pitch.
Yeah. And is the rest of your memory like that? Are you pretty photographic with things, really detail oriented in that way?
I would say so, yeah.
When you were in like more gen ed classes, like what are your strong suits and what's your weak points?
Attention to detail, I'd say.
Okay.
Is the good stuff. I would say.
Can
like,
you math?
Oh yeah, I was great at math.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I was like we had the ACT thing. I got a 32 overall on that.
God damn, first try? God damn.
I didn't take it a second time.
So you're just a deep nerd. That explains a
Yeah,
lot of things
that's
about
like-
you. Don't let this long hair good looks fool you. You fucking dweeb.
Yeah, all my free time is just looking shit up.
Really?
Yep.
Do you have a disturbing like Google Chrome history of like what's this dude really trying to get at right now?
Definitely. I got into the whole like YouTube serial killer explanation videos. And I was like, dude, this is wild.
So you like more human interest stories then, or is it just whatever's got you going that day?
Whatever's got some cool stuff going on.
That's really odd. So have music's been like your number one hobby since 9, and then like what have you kind of balanced on the side since then?
Sports,
Really?
I guess.
What kind of stuff you
I
play?
was a basketball guy. Never really any good, especially considering my height. But, you know.
It's a good enough advantage to get you interested in the game.
Yeah. Like, I can suck. I'm probably like 20% from the field, you know, but like just being on the court, people are like, God damn.
Yeah, just get boards, baby.
Exactly.
Are you a
I
very
was
coordinated
rebound
fella?
guy. I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, cool. We should go hoop sometime. I'm known
do it.
for overly aggressive defense, especially without referees.
Nice.
I have no class, and I'm a really bad shooter, so I just get in people's faces.
Yeah.
Run my mouth a little too much. Were you just like a casual viewer of the sport, or did you just start playing and not really watch?
Yeah, I watched it with Dad all the time. He's a big NBA fan.
What's the team?
No team, really.
What?
He was just like
Open-minded.
fan of the game. He liked the people that were good, so it was LeBron.
That's
most
the
of
worst
time.
type of fan. Okay, like I need you to be committed to something blindly. You know, give
Yeah.
me some kind of childhood explanation. I don't give a shit that you like somebody for what they do on the court. Run your mouth a little
Yeah.
bit. Now,
We are Bengals fans though.
okay, cool.
So-
That's where you get saucy.
Yeah.
Did you play football at all? Good on your hands.
I was in marching band.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you play drumline marching band?
I did trumpet for 2 years, and then I did euphonium.
No way. And was that like I want to move to euphonium, or was it like we don't have enough kids?
I picked up the trombone in our like basketball pep band, and we had enough trombone players, so I ended up on baritone just because it's like same mouthpiece feel,
Yeah.
but it's
Except
valves
like
instead
a
of
different
slide.
push kind of a
Yeah.
thing. How long does it take to like recalibrate the body from what you're doing on trumpet to the euphonium?
For me, not that long. It was pretty much just like don't like try so hard in the mouth area.
Don't
Like,
purse
it's-
too much.
Yeah, it's easier.
Interesting.
I think on a bigger mouthpiece like that.
From your singing experience, do you have a pretty strong lung capacity?
Yeah.
Yeah, being a taller guy, it's probably like you're anatomically a little bit more built for this. So I've always gotten this idea of you of like you found your instrument, you loved the music, but even if guitar was going to be your primary, just guitar was too boring for you. Why is that?
I don't know, man. It's just it might be because I was more interested in playing than practicing. So growing up, like I'd spend 2 hours a day probably playing, but it wasn't just like
dexterity drills.
It wasn't
basic
anything
skills.
like that. And so once I hit like a technical limit, I was like, man, this is boring.
And were
So
you just
then I'd
learning
just move
songs to reach that technical limit?
Not really even that. Like I liked playing stuff that I came up with.
Interesting.
Like I'd just be like, that's a pretty chord.
So you were just making shapes for your own entertainment. So when did you become the parakeet that you can do in the wedding band, where it's like, oh, I listened to that solo enough times this week. I haven't played it yet, but like, here she comes. You do that. Like, it's disturbing when someone can do that, because the rest of us monkeys are over here like half step off. Am I in tune? Yeah. Okay, it's just me, you know?
Yeah, just my ear has always been super good.
And is it painstaking to you when the hands don't do what the ear is telling you to, or are they normally pretty cohesive?
Yeah, it's pretty rare for me to find something I can't play.
Interesting.
Which is it's a blessing.
Yeah. Well, it's an enabler in that. Is that why you've gone to other instruments, or do you feel similarly on other instruments?
Yeah, it's just my ear is able to pick up every little thing, which helps in my producing stuff, I feel like. But also for cover stuff, wedding band stuff, like it's just really easy for me to hear what I need to play.
Yeah.
And just I'm able to play it, which is fun.
And as that relates to your songwriting, do you get ideas totally fleshed out, or do you get chord progression, lyrical content? What's the drum sound like? Like, does it unveil itself over time? Or does
Over time, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah. And how long do you normally like to stew on a project? Like your latest EP, or like that is it your first EP that I'm such a big fan of? Or okay. Dude, I cried so hard at that song, Dylan.
Yeah.
Stupid. It's such a good song. And the drums are so over the top. I'm like,
Yep.
I'm glad he programmed these, because now that I know that you played drums, I'm like, he's probably ruined his own life playing these drums live.
Yeah, I think about it every day. I'm like, why didn't I just play them? But
Well, it's such a pain to go through the recording process with drums. It's like,
yeah, and at the time, I didn't have the ability really to record them.
so as someone that went through an academic program where now your tuition, my dogs are going ape shit. Yeah, please don't worry. Listen, everybody, the mailman's a dick. I know he is. Okay, I'd be up there barking too if I wasn't working right now, but I'm working. You're pretty much paying for the studio time in your tuition. Like, do you feel like you really got to take advantage of that while you were there?
In the last 2 years, yeah, definitely. We had this big capstone project that I only ended up recording 2 full songs for that, and they're not out yet. But
Why are you holding back on us?
perfectionism.
Brat bastard. Didn't you say like you had like 10 songs you were going to release before the end of the year, like
Oh
a month
yeah,
ago?
that's not happening.
You bastard. I knew it. I should have gotten you drunk for this.
I got a creative kick, so I've just been throwing out a bunch of ideas. I got this thing. It's like a blues, but it's in 5/4
Play
or
it.
5/8.
Show me.
Right. Like, it feels good.
Yeah.
But then you realize it's 5/8 instead of the normal like 6/8.
Yeah.
So it feels a little weirder.
And does that come off to you conceptually, or is that just like you're playing and trying to entertain yourself?
Yeah, there was a song that was some swung blues thing like Elephant, Tame Impala. It was something like that.
Yeah.
But instead of being like a perfect triplet, they like moved the syncopated one a little bit behind.
Yeah.
I was like, that might be fun to try and do something in 5 that still feels like a blues like that.
Yeah.
So then I just sat in front of my computer and just recorded random stuff until I found something that felt good.
And when you do that kind of process, do you record over what you did last time and put it in a track folder? Or do you just hit record and give yourself infinite space on the line and then go back and listen through and pick.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I'll record just like 8 measures, see how that sounds to me, and if I'm like, okay, that's good, then I'll sit and noodle and figure out something that I want to do on top of that, and then just keep on building and adding stuff. It's nice in my new place. I can record drums. We've got the drum set up upstairs, and so like having that kind of, excuse you.
It was a nice one. I was
Yeah,
like, I hope that didn't go on the
one.
mic. I hope y'all got headphones in because that was low, bitch.
No, it was it's really nice to just like at this point be able to really just sit down on any instrument that I have and get the idea out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the ideas that have been thrown around lately have just been, I figured out how to record the drum set upstairs and make it sound good. I'm just going to start playing and like pretend it's a song. I'll just like do random things that sound like a form.
Mm-hmm.
And then like there's one, it's pretty fat. It's like kind of like a British rock type of song, but just adding stuff on top of what I recorded just to see if it would work.
Yeah.
And having it work is very fun.
Totally. Like
Yeah.
it's super fulfilling
Mm-hmm.
to write from different angles. Like you're getting into the box through a different door this time.
Yep.
And especially to start in a place that's non-melodic. It's like that's kind of disturbing, you know. Like, has that been part of this new creative chapter? Is having this new utility sitting there all the time that you can just hop on and get to?
For sure, yeah. It's I've been like really going into the soundscape and the vibe more so than what the song is lately. I want stuff to sound good, and I want it to sound like me, and especially early on, my big thing was just like making stuff that sounded pretty or was just like a landscape or a wash of color or something like that. And I think 'Cause I Love You was one of the best like showcases of like my style, because it's bluesy, but it's also beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's aggressive. It's got every little part of my sound, I guess.
Yeah. To me, that song is very much like it's like a hi-fi Jeff Buckley. Like you take it to this point where it's got like this uber modern tightness at the point of this, like the breakdown, and it's like at that point we've transitioned to a pretty hard rock song.
Yep.
But it never loses like this very like melancholy but like lovable ballad. Like I think when you write a song like that, you want the perception to be like anyone that hears this wants it to be about them. Not that I want you to be in love with me, Dylan, but I was listening, I was like, fuck, like, it's moving in that kind of a way. But when you track organic drums, you never miss the accuracy and the lack of bleed that you'll get from going through and just pulling your favorite samples and making it that way.
I think it's more fun.
Really?
Just, like...
To deal with it?
Yeah, exactly. I've gotten good at the Beat Detective, I think it's called, on Pro Tools.
Word.
So, like, if there's any imperfections, like, I can just take them out.
Word.
And so I'm good enough at the drums at this point to where it's not a problem to me if I make any sort of little time mistake, because I can just fix that.
Yeah. And one thing we had talked about last time we hung out at the Muse was just like, you need to be around people that have a similar capability to make you feel challenged and whatnot. I feel like the landscape of real multi-instrumentalist artists is such a weird niche that, like, who are your heroes that you really see that did that you do feel competitive to?
Dave Grohl.
Nice.
Kevin Parker.
Who's Kevin Parker?
Tame Impala.
Okay, word.
You know he's just one guy?
Yeah. I knew that the production was all just one dude, and I knew he
Yeah.
brought in bandmates. Is that how you kind of want to see your career take flight? It's like,
Yeah, I would love to just, be the sole creator of something that people enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Not that other people are like a bummer and
But it's
a
tough.
detractor to what I want. It's just like the most fun thing in the world is for me to achieve the sound that I want, or to be able to play all the notes that I want to hear and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really fun.
Well, I think with the technology in front of us, to be able to put the whole idea cohesively through one filter, that is your own mind and your own playing, and end up on the other side, is equally, if not more, fulfilling than collaborating with folks. Because collaboration comes with compromise that can lead to really great things. But sometimes artistically, that's the last thing we want to do, is compromise. And to find out, like you said, is this meaningful to people? Did I bring something to the world? Did I bring something to the table that really felt like it had some sustenance to it? And as someone that is very uniquely apt towards that kind of a thing, I think you owe it to us as fans to fucking do that, man.
Yeah.
So we had talked about like kind of the ambiguity of being outside of academia and music, and now just pursuing it on your own time, your own freedom, while balancing gigging and whatnot. Like, has this creative batch felt like a good solution to that?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, because there's songs to be finished kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
What's the window of time that you like to see a song go from an idea to written to produced to mix and mastered and now out in the world?
It's all over the place, man.
But does it bother you when it stays shelved for too long and now you can start to look at the imperfections? It's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's like I said, I have probably 10 or 15 songs that are listenable at this point. They're just not at a level where I'm proud of it, I guess. Cause
were they ever at a level that you were proud of them until you got too far out of the view?
I don't think so. I think it's like, I know a song is going to be good when it's finished, and so I'll keep working on it. And then I'll inevitably get tired of hearing it, and then I'll come back to it. I'm like, man, this wasn't really even close. What was I thinking at the time?
Yeah.
I have so many things like that right now.
Yeah, well, sometimes, like, when especially when you're talking about, like, the vibe of it, like, you lose an idea of what the vibe is, so it doesn't feel like you're shooting at the same thing anymore. And I always feel like, like, as we sit in this space right now, like, I'm always tweaking little things, hoping that it's getting better in terms of what I'm capable of producing. But whether or not it is better, I'm just distracting myself from what I should be doing, or if I'm removing myself from the idea of what I'm shooting for, and then getting farther away from finishing and releasing this and just sharing it. It's like, it's a really tough question to be at, especially when you are the only one working on it. There's no mutual accountability of there, dude, we got to finish this song. It's like, no, you go in the pile of unloved kids, It's like, you wait for your time.
Yeah. Sometimes I do think about how it could be really beneficial for me to just throw stuff in a project, get the sounds I want to hear, and just have somebody else mix it or something like that. But mixing is so fun to me. I enjoy making things sound good, and that it's just like that, and just generally producing is my favorite thing to do.
Do you mix through the whole process?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the real killer of pace,
My whole creative process is probably a lot slower than it should be, because it's building off of what I record as I go, and then making stuff sound good as I go. There was, like, 'Cause I Love You, there was never a mixing day.
Yeah.
That was, I was still adding tracks to it, like, a couple days before I sent it to DistroKid.
And I feel like the really violent thing there is automation. I mean, if you start playing with your automation, the day that those 15 guitar parts are stacked together and you're trying to make them sound like one, it's so hard to move the unit without making like a submix and now automating that.
Yep.
And now you're 10 lines into this thing and you don't know why that dip's happening.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, that's my life. I torture myself. So when you were doing this for school, did you feel like you were as happy with projects after a deadline, or was it always like, if I had another week, I would have had more fun?
I find deadlines actually really fun and rewarding in the creative aspect of it. Like I did a songwriting class fall semester of the last year, and I wrote 6 songs that I love, and it was really fun. There's one, it's like a Rage Against the Machine style song that is not out anywhere, but I want it to be soon.
Yeah.
That one, the whole idea got put into a Logic file in a day, and the professor was like, dude, this is ridiculous. And I was like, yeah. But there's a level that I want it to be above where I presented it in the class.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's not out. Because I know I have the ability to make it sound the way I want it to. And it's 90% there right now. It's just a matter of actually recording a real amp instead of using plugins for stuff, you know.
And what about that really bothers you? Sims versus a cab.
Pride, I guess. You know, like,
Jesus, you like Clapton too much, bro. I find that interesting because, like, I'm convinced that when you move air, there's something there
100%.
that's just the metaphysical side of it's sexy. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, why does a horn section feel better in real life than it will ever feel on a computer? Because they interact in space. It's like, why does some jazz records where they're all standing in the same room with just 2 stereo mics sound better than anything we're ever gonna do? Because the vibe is literally in that little block. But when it comes to, like, how far can you get this to the front of the mix and how far to the back can you send it? The moment that you mic a cab is the moment that you have to start making some compromises about what you can do later on.
And that's what's fun to me. I like doing that.
You like causing problems for yourself?
Yeah.
So what kind of amps do you really love for your guitar sound?
Fender amps.
Okay.
I have a Blues Junior that is not used very much anymore just because I've grown to think that it sounds like a box and that's it.
I love the size of the Blues Junior though. Like, it's a low 10.
The form factor is great.
Yeah, but not only the form, but like, not many other Fenders are going to be this crunchy little 10 that doesn't have a lot of room to breathe. I mean, like, it's like, eat the cone, you know?
Yep. And my Jazzmaster and the 335, they're hot guitars. So, like, the gain on 3 is overdriven on a Blues Junior. So, but the other amp I have it's like a Quilter solid state. It's got...
That's what you brought to the Muse recently. That thing sounded fucking awesome.
That thing's great.
Also, I took a line out of it. It's like, I hate taking a line out of an amp. I'm like, I'm a bad person for this. The line out sounded awesome.
Yeah, they've got it going on, I think, because it's like pretty cheap for a great sound.
Yeah.
And, you know, EQ and stuff that doesn't sound good is all you need to do. It's harder to do that on a tube amp, on a real tube amp, but the fundamental sound of a tube amp is the sound I go for.
And when you get into that side of your production, where it's a lot of EQ work, it's a lot of clearing space for other things, are you very quantified, or are you more visual, or is it all just ear?
All ear, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a hard time when I'm looking at an EQ, especially being a Logic person, where it's like everything is so visual and everything's so clean in that kind of visual form, that it really helps me to see, like, is it the RTA or whatever you call that one, like, you can actually see how it's reacting within the EQ and see where to make reduction points and whatnot. And I feel like if I move to something like Reaper, where it's all numbers, it's like, this isn't even the same game I've been playing, so I couldn't play in that field.
Yeah, the visual aspect is pretty important. Like, on a Logic EQ, you see your signal, and it's pretty, like, for a bass, for example, if you have it really overdriven and distorted, there's usually entirely too many mids.
Yeah.
And you can see it.
Yeah.
Like you can see the fundamental and the mid-range are like the same level. And so that helps with like figuring out where exactly the center point of the mids that you want to take down is, in addition to the ear saying it's probably like 500, 600 hertz.
And when you
like
say
that.
the principle compared to the mid-range, like what do you mean by the principle?
Just the actual low note, the lowest note.
Okay, cool. Like quantifiably on this EQ, the note is around 120, and then everything else to that is just the reaction of the. Cool. I'm an idiot. I didn't go to school for this shit. I don't know what you're talking
okay.
about. What I really love is, especially for someone that layers so many guitar parts, finding ways that they can eat up the same range here without fighting each other, without causing phasing issues, without being retractive from itself. Like, in my mind, the easiest way to do that is take an EQ, scoop it on one side, boost it on the other, take the other one, flip it. Is that how you kind of approach like 5 to 7 guitars crammed into one little box?
I'll try it, but a lot of the time it's just generally like changing the pickup or getting a different guitar that sounds different. Because like making it easier on the way in is more ideal than having the same exact sound for everything and then trying to make them all sound different.
Yeah, but even if they are different guitars, different sounds, I guess you're also playing. You're playing different shapes and whatnot. You're considering the full moving piece as you go, probably, right? I guess
I'll double track a rhythm part, but then like if I want to add more to it, I'm not gonna be playing here.
Yeah.
If that's where the rhythm part was.
Yeah.
It's gonna be somewhere else. So the notes themselves are also out of the way.
And how much do you go through and edit that versus, no, I'm going to play this pinpoint exactly the way it needs to be?
It's probably 50-50, honestly.
Okay. You're competent enough in your editing skills where it's like you'll take a performance that is pretty much there and make it there rather than sit there and torment yourself with it.
Well, in that instance, it's more fun to me to nail it on the recording.
Yeah.
So if I know I can, I will. Pretty much.
Do you like having other people in the room when you're doing this stuff, or is this like a conversation with the self when you're playing in the box?
I like it myself.
Yeah.
By myself.
And is that just because you have the freedom to go places that other people may not enjoy, or is it you just don't want the eyes over the shoulder?
That, I think. It's more fun to be like, look what I just did after the fact. I don't like people hearing the process.
Yeah.
I like showcasing the finished product and what I did, for example. Like, I show my girlfriend all of my productions. I'm like, look at this thing that I did. Like, this is so cool. What do you think about this? But she is never there for the actual process of creating it. I just like telling her about what I did.
Yeah. That's always like the worst. Like, honey, can I tell you about what I did with this compressor? She's like, shut your mouth. Exactly. Like, do you think you could have ever been with someone who's not a musician because of that, like, that nerdy time of walking people through, especially a vocalist who like...
Yeah, I tried it with my ex. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody who knows what you're talking about at the very least, I feel like. I can't just be like, I EQ'd this thing, and they're like, what's an EQ?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that. That's too much explaining. I just want to say what I did to someone who gets it.
So my wife played just enough growing up to like have a good ear, to know what it takes to do things, to appreciate and enjoy music. But like, she's by no means trying to be professional, doesn't play it all anymore. But occasionally she'll hit something on the head, and I'm like, that's my girl. Or I'm like, I wish you didn't talk to me for a little while. Like, I showed her the finished version of my last EP, and she goes, there's too much reverb there. And I was like, what the fuck do you even know about that? Like, I give you a couple of words here, honey, and then you break my heart with them. But if I didn't have that kind of response in a partner, it's like, I think I'm like you. It's like, it would drive me nuts to walk you through every aspect of it. Sometimes I want to feel like I got a secret and I can walk you through something that's brand new to me and it'll be new to you. But she also works in the world of medicine, so like I don't know anything I'm talking about. I take a 3-syllable word, I butcher it, and then I try to have a conversation with her while I know I'm just bullshitting about something that, like, I don't know. I'm just happy to be talking about coagulants, like whatever that means. Like,
Yeah.
did you ever consider any career paths outside of music?
Yeah. Engineering.
That would make a lot of sense.
Since I was good at math, it was fun. I enjoyed math, dude.
That's gross.
The calculus, the AP calculus thing, like,
That's even
I
grosser.
actually enjoyed the test.
Is that where they start talking about like imaginary numbers?
Maybe even before that, actually.
God
But,
damn, dude.
yeah.
That happened to me once in college, and it was
Yeah.
the worst semester of my life because I was like, so
I've pretty much forgotten all of that stuff at this point, but
it seems pretty useless in a day-to-day life.
especially as a musician, like,
Yeah. Well, do you ever get nerdy with the numbers of what you're doing? Like, do you ever crunch numbers of what you can do with EQ and like certain thresholds and ratios and things like that? Do you find the numerical side of the box sexy for that reason?
yeah, it's very fun. Like, moving cues around, widening, thinning up, things like that. Like, it's very fun to hear how a number translates to a sound.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, it's very fun.
And do you mentally record those things?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to go EQ a room to start a mix, like,
Yeah.
dude, this is what boggles me the most, okay? Here you are, one of these people where I'm like, I don't know how he gets that, how he knows that, how he plays that. I just like what he does, but you really throw me off. And you're a quiet enough guy where I'm like, he's not going to tell me. Like, that's why you're here today, because I'm like, he hasn't been telling me this shit.
I try so hard to be able to explain it. It's just a thing that I can do. I don't know how I do it either.
But then you have these bands where you go play in a cement basement to a bunch of drunk college kids.
Yep.
Like, does that not drive you up a wall to be playing against a slapback wall and bodies? Or do you like...
It's a fun challenge.
Okay, so you're over there changing your amp sounds to make sure it comes out great out there?
Yeah, I like to do that.
That's very like... It's where nerdy perfectionist meets punk rock. It's like...
Yeah. That's, if that could be like the slogan for my brand, I would love that. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that's definitely what you're approaching at some point. So now that you can still go use the school stuff, because I'm sure you got classmates that, you know, they're still in the program as you've moved out and they want you to come in and engineer on this or work on this. It's like, it's still somewhat there. Do you prefer the privacy of your own space and your own constraints in that? Like, this is the mic package I can afford, this is what I use. This is the interface I can afford, this is what I use.
It is really nice to at least have stuff that I know what it sounds like, and if I have a certain sound in mind that I want to hear and I know I have stuff that can do it, I'll use it. Or I will know what I can do to my stuff to make it sound the way I want it to. And that's very fun to me to figure it all out.
So
Like
it kind of
that.
manages expectations to have bought something for a reason, and that's all you're going to buy to do it, whereas the school has a mic locker full of a bunch of nonsense that, yeah, you can pull it and find out, but that's kind of productive to creating.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to academic guitar playing and things like the modes and things like the true music theory stuff, were those things that you subconsciously knew that now you were just putting a name to, or did you grow up learning in the form?
Yeah, I did piano lessons for all of middle school and high school, and we did a whole bunch of theory work, and it all stuck. I was great at it.
Nice.
I got into the whatever the advanced theory class was freshman year from the
So you tested out of
pre-test.
like first 2 theory classes? Dude, that's
Yeah.
hardcore.
Yeah. It's nice because I'm a person that people can go to that know what's going on. Like, Melanie will somehow my ringer's off.
I can't believe you do that to
Dude,
me.
I'm so sorry.
It's just because I
Don't
burped
kick
on
me out.
I'm gonna release my parents' mini golden doodles on your ass. They're vicious. I just have to slather you in peanut butter first, but they'll fuck your life up, bro.
Yeah,
I
but
might get involved too. I love peanut butter.
peanut butter's great, man.
Dude, peanut butter is an addictive drug. I'd say it's the truest gateway drug there is. Yeah. I mean, marijuana and peanut butter is like, I don't need a spoon. I got hands for a reason. Exactly. Then you start wondering, like, halfway through the peanut butter, like, is this why God gave me hands? Then you get to the bottom, you're like, I need to get rid of this thing. And then you're thinking about amputating in the morning, and then you wake up and things are cool. Okay, and that's why you can't smoke all day, every day, because you're going to end up amputating your hand, eating peanut butter off and up. It's just a difficult situation.
You're right, yeah.
Compounding effects, man. So does the theory really affect your playing that much? And like, well, actually, here's the question I wanted to ask. Would you recommend that everyone start on piano?
I don't think so.
It didn't matter to you in that?
If you like knowing the conventions of music theory and stuff, the piano's the way to go, because guitar has its own theory, and it's not really based on intervals or anything like that. It's shapes and feeling, I feel like, a lot of the time. You know, like blues guitar players, they usually don't really know anything about what they're playing other than it's the key of A or something like that.
Yeah. And it's just the same box.
Yeah. On piano, you can really see what you're doing in addition to actually doing it.
Well, and until I took a couple of classes on piano, it's like I can barely play worth a damn. But it's like you realize it's not this big-ass instrument that you need to take in. It's like it's one octave times 8, you know, and you can learn to work in that one octave until things make enough sense. And then you start to learn about why you spread things out. And that's such an awesome aha moment that, like, in some ways you can achieve on guitar, but it's not as available to you in that kind of way. Like the cage system is that same kind of opening, which I didn't know Joe Pass was the one that invented the cage system. But then you watch that dude play a nasty block C chord, and you're like, oh yeah, brother. Look, he's got this gross looking fingers, man. I think Yngwie said that in this interview I was listening to. You remind me of Yngwie and something that you said earlier, where it's like, I play until I impress myself. And it's like, whoa. Like, not only is that like, it's humble in the only way that he can be like, way too not humble, you know? It's like, it's not like he's going to dumb himself down. But he's like, I'm not here for your entertainment. I'm glad you like it, you know? Like, but we must continue into the darkness.
Yeah, that's the ideal situation to me. Like, making stuff that I enjoy and people happening to also like it as well.
Yeah, it's some Swedish bullshit. Watch yourself before you move to Norway and try to figure it out, okay? Because it's not Sweden. Yeah. I realized that as I was saying that. I was like, God damn it, man. So, as you've stepped into just your professional gigging life, it's like there's a variety of paths that one can take from Kevin Parker's path of I'm going to sit here and make things that thrill me until they thrill you. And then once it thrills you, I'll figure out what the network set looks like to go out and gig on this stuff and grind over the decades. Is that kind of your ideal? Or do you want to be in this situation where you do that for a little bit, then you have other people that come to you and say, Dylan, I have this bag of lyrics, but I don't know what to put it over. And then you help them a little bit.
First thing sounds ideal. I would love that. That'd be awesome. But I'm good enough at enough things to where if anybody wants me to do anything, I'll make sure it's good and I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah.
So whatever will come my way, I'm happy to do it.
Well, and that's one of the, you know, I'm not here to make an appeal to you about why you shouldn't leave Cincinnati, because that would be selfish for me. But we had talked about, you know, other markets where certain things are more available than other things that are here. Folks like yourself that are really apt to, I could be the only person in the room with you, and we're going to get this thing done. And it's going to be to your liking, but it's also going to be to my liking. It's like you're never going to get rid of your bit of a thumbprint that goes on everything you do, because it's just how you work. You sound like yourself. You've worked your whole life to sound like yourself. You did the academic things so you could learn how to do more of that, versus a lot of people go in there, they say, I just want to be a chameleon. I just want to be able to do the things I want to do. versus you went in being like, I can do the things I want to do, but like, let's take it a step further.
Exactly.
Like a junkie, you know? Like, you're sick,
Yeah.
bro. So, do you like the idea of being on the road for stretches of time, or does that sound less appealing to you?
I think I'd enjoy it just as long as I can be by myself for a lot of the time. You know, like I'm super introverted.
Mm-hmm.
I really value being alone. One of my favorite things is to go home. You know, like if I'm ever out, it's more fun and more exciting to me to know when I get to go home after that. Right?
You're at the bar having a beer with a big smile on your face, like, we're about to leave.
Yeah,
So.
dude, it's the greatest feeling on earth.
I bet a lot of introverts really do relate to that. It's like, I don't have a problem with going home, but like, there are a lot of nights, like especially when something like marijuana is involved, it's like headphones in. I got to be thinking about something else, because to just be there with my thoughts in absolute silence can start to be a little bit too weird, you know?
Yeah, I get it.
But maybe that's just the persistence of inebriants in certain ways. Like a lot of time you need that quiet time to let things surface that you're obviously trying to not let surface.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's where your best ideas come from, is the void of silence and certain things emerging from the mind?
Yeah, it's very fun. It's a lot of nights I'll get high, sit down at the computer and just start doing something. And that's where
Totally aimless?
no goals in mind, nothing, no ideas to even start. I just sit down and I'm like, okay, what am I doing?
And you know, for all of us, the best feeling is when you leave that with like, oh, I know what I did there. But what would you say is the batting average? How many times do you sit down and get nothing from it versus...
It's probably over half, I would say, where I don't get much out of it.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty good, though.
It's still fun. Like, it's not a waste of time for me to sit and just make up shit, and you know, it's great.
I think that's a powerful lesson, man. Like that's something I've been struggling with recently. Like I said, I stepped away from the getting high part. I'm just sitting down and just writing, and it's tough to not feel defeated when the idea doesn't show itself to you completely.
Yeah.
But there was something about the inebriants that had me way more interested in things that may have not seemed like the whole thing yet. You know, like there was a little bit less of, is this good enough for what I think I should be doing, or is this just what it is? You know, like fighting, trying to overcomplicate things, and fighting trying to be so happy with your lyrics that you would show the world already. Like it doesn't need to be there yet, but it's hard to separate yourself from that.
Yeah, I will often, when I start something, I'll be like, this is the coolest thing I've ever made. I have 3 things that I've made the past week where I'm like, at the time I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever made. And then I know generally where I want to take it, but then it might be a matter of just I didn't get there fast enough and I already started to get tired of it.
Yeah.
So then I get bummed. I'm like, man.
There's a very depressive state that comes along with ideas that felt like they already took flight, and now you're watching a bird get shot out of the sky by your own, insecurities of it.
Yeah.
Give it the old Dick Cheney, shoot yourself in the dome. Not yourself, but whoever's close enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's impressive how much it seems like you're stepping up to bat in that, and I feel for the part of the population that doesn't get to create at all. You know, folks who just...
It's all I want to do. Be creative.
Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like to play for us today that's a recent idea that just deserves a verse chorus or just a small section, or anything in full you feel like showing people?
Can I say no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I got nothing specific.
It's never something I want to force on this show, but eventually it's something like I like having folks that can come in with a band, and hopefully I can have the situation mic'd up where it's like, if I want to ask you about that chorus, you can run it, and then we can talk about things and how they interact. What's your favorite relationship in the production process? Like, do you like guitar and drums and the way they interact, and that kind of shows you the rest? Or is it guitars and your bass lines, or is it drums and the vocal?
at the current moment, it is all drums, essentially, dude. If the drums aren't grooving, the song is shit, you know?
That's for sure. That's a definite lesson we should all take. If the drums suck, it sucks, you know?
I'm to the point where I've done probably more gigs in the past 2 months on drums than guitar, which I'm not complaining at all. Drums is so fun.
Yeah,
because you
so
just
visceral.
get to beat the shit out of stuff, and you can get paid for that. Like it's so cool.
What's your ideal drum setup?
That's also something where I'm like, if there's drums there, I'll use those. Those are fine.
Yeah. Does it thrill you when you're playing in the basement and the guy who can barely play and brought out 2 floor toms, 2 rack toms, 2 snares?
I honestly have not even experienced that yet.
Okay, cool. You have like the garage band Neil Peart's of the world,
Yeah.
you know. Peart, my bad.
Yeah, I still use 3 toms, and if it's not my kit that's being used, there's usually only 2.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm the one that's more
You're
like
the
that.
garage band Neil
Yeah.
Peart. So, what about guitar has less appeal now because of drums? Is it just like the intricacies and not hitting what you want?
It could be the journey of growth has slowed down on guitar for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because of a lack of playing. I still probably play guitar 2 or 3 hours a day. But that's just because of like my efforts in working on creative things. It's not to practice. It's just I'm very aware of what my limits are on the instrument. And I still feel like I have a long way to go before I'm slowing down developmentally on the drums.
Word. So it's just feeling like you're looking at the glass ceiling on one and moving on to the next for that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that way about piano anymore, or did you kind of hit that threshold in high school?
Yeah, that piano, I did quite a bit with piano. I wrote a whole bunch of pieces in high school. I had a huge piano recital after my senior year where I played 1.5 hours of just originals and stuff like that. And at that point I was like, I think I've done what I've wanted to with the piano here. And especially getting into college, being around people that are songwriters and people that are into music with words. That was a big thing. Like growing up, a lot of jazz, a lot of smooth jazz, a lot.
Are you a Kenny G fan?
Hell yeah, dude. Kenny G. His Christmas album is probably one of the better Christmas albums of all time.
I'm talking trash, but I'll give it a listen. That sounds better than Mariah Carey at this point. Like, I'd
It's
rather
good
die.
stuff.
Like, dude, PJ Morton's Christmas album is the one that really turned
PJ
my
Morton.
head. Yeah.
I like Harry Connick Jr.'s. He has one that's mostly big band tunes, and it rips, dude. It's so good.
When you listen to things in the big band jazz world versus like the heavier of metals, like are you just looking at it all on a musical level and they equate to the same level of ripping, and you don't care about the genre for like the intensity you feel?
Yeah, genre doesn't matter to me, and it's hard for me to. I don't like to write something in a genre. I just want to write what I'm thinking at the time, and if it happens to fit in a genre, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, genre doesn't matter to me at all. If it's good music, it's good music.
Yeah. Well, I think the bigger question for me there is like, it's about like the shape. Like sometimes I can perceive something as heavy because it's coming through a bunch of half stacks and this guy's laying it down. But it's not as heavy as some acoustic guitar moments. Like I heard once as a young kid, it's like you'll never get the kind of weight out of a Marshall stack that you will out of like a big baby grand.
Yeah.
But I still get fooled by those kind of things. And I have a hard time going back into like, especially parts of jazz or big band or really orchestral stuff where I'm just not musically into it in that kind of a way. But there's moments that are so much heavier than anything we can appreciate in the world of metal.
Yeah.
And there's so many lessons to be learned in that. That's like, I'm a fickle listener. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, there's tons of musicians that are like, Stravinsky's my guy.
Yeah.
Because he was probably the first heavy metal artist.
That's super interesting.
Because he was able to take the orchestra and make it sound scary. Like, riots happened during his concerts.
No shit.
He had the Rite of Spring. People like protested during the premiere of that.
That's disturbing in an amazing way. So what's your listening process like?
For like, what do you mean?
I think if you're going to really give something the time of day, you're going to listen to something for the first time. Are you headphones on, lights off, or?
Headphones on, and I'm usually doing something on my phone that is generally mindless.
Like
just so that I'm not sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't like staring at the wall. I like at least having some sort of stimulation in addition to hearing stuff.
Yeah, a passive engagement of some sort.
Yeah. It's very fun to just put the headphones on and really listen intently to stuff.
What's your phone fidget? What are you doing over there that's not taking up any brain power?
You know the Bloons Tower Defense game?
Yes!
Dude, it's
$5.99.
It's so fun. Bloons Tower Defense 6 is the best game of all time.
Bloons was a game that was big in my high school, and I didn't play much video games in high school. I'm just not very into games in general. But
I wouldn't either.
If you watched a guy out of the corner of your eye and his entire screen is exploding, and then that nuke flies over, you're like, this guy's going fucking ham. Like,
exactly.
Those are big moments. That is an awesome passive, time suck. I went to a wedding of a friend recently, and I'm sitting next to one of our homies who his girlfriend or his fiance is in the wedding party, and then my wife's right next to me. And, like, she's, like, slapping me because I'm watching him play Bloons Tower Defense during this mess. She's like, don't be distracted by it. I'm like, honey, do you know what this is? Like, this is crack cocaine in the version of monkeys blowing shit up.
It's so funny, too, because, like, I'll show new friends, like, look at this. Look at how far I am in this game. And they're like, dude, you're literally just placing a monkey down and watching it do its thing. Like, how is this a game that's fun? I'm like, dude. You're popping balloons. There's nothing like it.
Dude, especially when you start getting like things that pop a lot of balloons, and like it gets pretty hard. I mean, it takes some thought.
100%. They've got this new impoppable in chimps mode. It's like, it's crazy, dude. You got one life instead of the normal 100.
Dude.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
Imagine when there's a cross brand of Impoppable Burger that comes through, and it's just a burger, and it's like, these veggies know what they're doing, son.
Yeah.
I love when they have like TikTok videos that have like some kind of racing game below it. So you're watching I'm like, this is really getting to the bottom of my monkey brainstem in a bad way. I wonder if Bloons Tower Defense could be the next level of that.
I would love that. That's how I could start my content creating journey. Dude, I feel like.
Imagine every music video you put out just has a corner of balloons going on.
Dude, that's a great idea.
You're like, imagine that it's this is like the final approval process for you finished the song, you've mixed and mastered. This is what I did when I was making sure this shit sounded okay. And it's just you going ham on these people. And you're like, wow, he does seem happy. Like, he's very satisfied here.
Yeah.
Do you play any like active games? Like, are you someone that sits down with a PS4 and gets into it?
I don't own a console. It's just
too much of a mind suck.
Yeah.
I got Call of Duty on my phone now. I don't need no console. I'm
Didn't
free
even
to
know they had that.
Dude, it's free as well. It's quite the time suck, actually. Nice. For a while, it was ruining my relationship, but then I got all the guns I wanted, and it became a little less addictive. It is interesting.
Yeah, the grind is the fun part.
Wait, it's weird the way that those demonstrate to us how much we do need like these little micro reward systems. Like you reach a point on guitar where you're not getting that same micro reward, so you move to another instrument. Whereas most people are like, I'm done playing for the day. You know, you add another tom. Maybe you get roto toms. Maybe you get another floor tom. The world's endless, brother.
Yeah.
When it comes to miking your drums up, are you someone that close mics everything and then runs with the overheads for most of the sound, or?
Well, in the current moment, I've discovered. So I have a 4 mic setup, a kick snare, 2 overheads, and I've started doing this thing because my overheads are so ridiculously bright. I put my 3 toms and had the overheads directly in between them.
Nice.
So that I get the full stereo spread, but my cymbals are above them. So they're like, they sound far away even though the mic is like right there. And that's what I want. I want the toms and the snare and the kick to sound like they're right there.
Yeah.
And then all the cymbals sounding like they're a little farther away.
Interesting.
And that achieves it.
Yeah. And you're doing less EQing in general because of that choice. Is it almost like a Glenn Johns kind of like distance?
I would say so, yeah.
And you're splitting your 2 rack toms? Like, doesn't that feel weird? Like, how do you get more hi-hat in the mix? Like,
Play it.
it's,
Play it louder.
And it seems like it'll feel so far over at that point. Like,
Yeah.
do you completely spread your overheads?
No, it's usually like 45
Okay.
instead of the 63.
What goes all the way to 63 in your mix?
Double track guitars, background vocals,
Nice.
percussive things a lot of the time, and then just like generally really wide stereo synths I like.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's you have very thick mixing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, when do you go from your organic sound to your amp sims to like, okay, now I'm just pulling up, you know, a tambourine on my MIDI synth, or do you like to play as much as you can at this point and avoid all that shit?
At this point, it's I really want to record something I played in the real world instead of having stuff in the box. Because, you know, if you think about it, there's a huge difference between cutting the highs in a computer on a synth and turning a cutoff knob on a synth if you're recording it. Because there's still some hiss that's above that cutoff line due to the chord or whatever. And that kind of stuff is where the life is in everything.
Yeah.
And so you also miss it if you're going direct in with a guitar, if you've got your tone knob down or something. It's not the same as still going through a real amp and miking it up. You're still picking up the 20K, the 15K, but it's just not there when you're recording it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you enjoy the decision-making process before it goes through. Does that lead to a lot of retracking?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you're just fine with it?
Yeah, because it's fun to play it.
Yeah.
If I'm like, I missed the mark a tiny bit here, I'll just redo it. And the journey of hitting record 15 more times to get it right is a lot more fun than trying to move a knob or something to get it to sound the way I want it.
What of your release tracks took you the most time?
Ooh. Probably the most recent one I released. I've been sitting on that one for over a year.
What's the name of that one?
Everything You Tell Me To.
Okay. And that's on the latest EP?
The latest single I released, yeah.
I don't think I've listened to that. I got a good car ride today. I'll bump it hard.
It's fun. That one, no guitar. And that one's actually all in the box because I just wanted the challenge of making something that I was proud of without needing the external stuff to it.
Yeah. And is that like you started it in the airport, or did you do this all at your desk where everything's right there? You just chose not to?
Yeah, I would plug the MIDI keyboard in and moved through all the native instrument sounds until I found the stuff that I wanted to hear.
Did you ever get tempted by the devil to break the spree, or were you like the whole time like, no, this is the fun part, is next sound.
It was that, but it wasn't intentional, like it's gonna be in the box. It just ended up being like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the blend feels less cohesive when you have things in the box and out of the box?
it's certainly tough to me to get everything to sound like one thing. A lot of the in the box stuff, you got to throw 20 different plugins on it that simulates actual real world stuff in order to get it to sound real to me. And simply miking an amp sounds real. Obviously.
Do you use any reverb on the way in?
Sometimes. There's been a couple projects where it was like school stuff that someone recorded a guitar part with reverb, and I was like, this is unusable. Like, I would rather figure out what the dude played and re-record it myself with no reverb just to fix that. But that's another thing where I'm like, it's a fun challenge to figure out how to be able to make it usable on the way in.
Well, I feel like reverb especially, like, I prefer to send it all through one or two buses that now share something that feels like a very cohesive choice.
Yeah.
Delay, I feel differently. I got the Galaxy delay plugin, and I love that thing for damn near anything. The tape echo?
The UA? Yeah. Yeah, I have that.
That thing is sensational.
Yeah,
Like, they have like the delay tunnel, and then they'll just have like some better vocal delays that dissipate a little bit easier. Those two are everything I could need, but it's not like I'm going to play guitar through that and assume that to be the guitar delay effect.
Yeah. I've been getting real into, if I want a delay on my guitar, I'm going to figure out how to get it out of my pedal board first to make it sound like it's a guitar delay instead of a tape delay in a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you do a lot of like the more ambient side of sounds, the more like the passive listening qualities, will you do that more on synths, or do you like that to be on guitar with a lot of swell work?
Synth is certainly easier to me.
Yeah.
Just because turning a knob and making stuff sound different is easier. It's just easier to do it that way. And especially now getting more into drums, I'm less and less interested in the ambient type of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But it's still definitely a major part of what I do.
Yeah. You put much verb on your drums?
I try not to these
Dry
days.
as hell.
Yeah, the drier the better. I want it... The recording situation at the house is like, the drums are so dry, it sounds fake, almost. Which is like, I never thought I'd have a problem like that with drums. So I've found a couple in the Space Designer that make it sound like it's actually in a room.
Yeah.
But it's not like a long tail to make it go psh. It's nothing like that. It's to make it sound like it's in a real space.
And what did you do to deaden up your space so drastically?
I don't know. It's in Alera's room, so, and it's carpeted. I think that helps. Short ceilings. My room has a really tall ceiling. I've got like 12-foot ceilings.
Okay,
in my room.
Makes sense with your height. Like, what if you want to jump up and down? Like, you need this clearance, man.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I had to jump to like turn the light on the top.
No shit.
Top fan. Yeah.
That's humiliating.
I know. Like 6'5" and I still have to jump for this shit.
Girl comes over for the first time and she's like, "Can you turn the fan on?" You're like,
"Yeah, let me
close your eyes.
Let me get my Jordans on. I gotta."
Can I get a running start? You're not gonna feel weird about this, right?
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
So in this next year, in 2024, do you have any like particular plans of what you're gonna release, or is it gonna be as you feel?
As it feel.
God damn
Just
it.
let it be organic, you know.
All right. Well,
when things are ready, it'll be ready.
Well, we, the people that love you, being spoken for by me, Matt Waters, demand some shit, Dylan. And I'll make sure I spin the current single enough to make it worth your while. Get you past that 1,000 streams so Spotify pays a motherfucker. Isn't that outrageous?
Wild. It's offensive.
I can understand how much that saves them to give to artists that actually are allocating streams, but it's like, y'all are the ones that sold this short. Because guess what? If I would have sold 1,000 singles on Apple Music, that's $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, and they can stream that as much as they want. But because you shorted the value proposition, now you don't want to do the back pay work because it's logistically a hassle. No shit, Sherlock. Like, you guys are the ones that got us in this situation. It's outrageous.
Not fair.
Yeah, especially when, you know, it seems like you move towards the single thing. It's easier to market a single. It's easier to focus on that one at a time. But how many of the folks that have held on to saying an album is what I want to do have 6 out of 10 tracks that'll never scrape past 1,000, even if the other ones hit big numbers, you know?
Exactly.
It's devastating for the reward work that goes in. But you don't seem bothered by that at all, you know?
At this point, I'm like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
I had fun making it. If anyone wants to listen, they can.
Yeah. You're a special type of maniac, Dylan, and I love you for that. Anything else
Appreciate
you want to promote on the way out?
No, just my stuff. If I'm ever out, follow me on the socials, I guess.
Yeah.
Dylan J. Etienne.
What about some of your bands? What are some of the bands' names?
I'm a drummer in Goof Juice.
Goof Juice.
Drummer in Zolman's Wolfgang. We're like a blues power trio.
What's this project that Kane was telling me about that you guys recorded a couple things for? What's the name of that?
We didn't have a name, and
Trash.
we haven't even met in like 5 months for that.
He told me it's
honestly.
been quite the hiatus, but I
Yeah.
thought with Kane and y'all would have such a horrifically weird name, and now I'm just disappointed.
We got to get on it, honestly.
It's okay. I went Dylan Etienne Music. I don't need all these side projects. I love that you have them. I really do. But
It'll be coming.
okay. Well, thank you for coming over for a bit, brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Pimps and players, thanks for watching. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.